Yeah. Good morning, ma. Am I audible at the back? Yeah? Yeah, fine? Yeah. Good morning, ma. How are you all? All good? All fine? Yeah. So today I'm here to discuss about how to study with history as considered to be one of the toughest subject. So there are some misconceptions what have been carried with this so-called history. So happy to see some known students. I feel so confident also to see all that. Yeah, good smiles and all. Yeah, good, good. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, ma. You people make my day. Thank you. So for people who do not know me, I'm Kritika. So I'm the Faculty of History here at Shubhra Ranjan IAS, handling GS papers and the history optional. So how to go about with this history? A small introduction about the subject for people who are generally scared with this subject. So the first thing I tell students is, the first mantra from my side is, the most easiest subject in the entire GS is history. You will not believe me, you will not trust me, but there are some students who've studied history, so they would tell you that it's gonna be very easy provided you study it rightly. Again, provided you study it confidently, provided you study it chronologically. See, the subject looks big. It looks big. It's like history, but it's actually history. It's it's actually history. So are you getting it? So I don't know why people fear history. The first thing I get to know from all students is, so when I introduce myself also, so everyone, generally people will ask me, history teacher. I'm like, poor history teacher. Because why? They think that, see, of course, it's a factual subject, no doubt. Let me nail the point that it's one of the most easiest subject. You are going to believe it with me. Get it with me? We are going to make the journey very easier. And there are some live examples sitting in front of me also. You can talk to them also. So again, how is this history approached? Getting it? So again, getting into the subject, I'll give a small, understanding of how this preparation goes on. When you look at our UPSC journey, when you look at the journey, getting it particularly for prelims and mains, I put it together, the UPSC journey for prelims. When you look at prelims, a general orientation. So we have again mains. When you divide this into two, and then we have our personality test interview. When you divide it into these parts, for prelims, we have history, considered to be the biggest subject, followed by geography, followed by economics, followed by polity, your environment, science and tech, plus your current affairs. Clear? So these are the major topics which you would be making yourself thorough to clear your prelims. Getting it? So again, this part, when I take it, it is general studies. First, keep that in mind. It's not GK. This exam is not general knowledge, it's general studies. So ma'am, what is the difference between general knowledge and general studies? General knowledge is very factual. You just start imbibing facts and you start loading yourself with facts. You understand, you do not understand, that is general knowledge. Which is the biggest state of India? Yeah, Rajasthan. It's a GK, general knowledge. So we just study biggest state of India, Rajasthan. Are you getting? That's general knowledge. Why Rajasthan is the biggest state? Why? When did Rajasthan become the largest state? On what basis Rajasthan was made as the biggest state? Is it pure geographical, or was it a political move, or was it some other move? When you know the pros and cons of the entire question, that becomes what? That becomes your studies. So this exam is general studies. So first thing is, do not be factual. Ma'am, then how will I know facts? You have to be factual. But when you learn your facts, again, you substantiate your facts and make it as what? A concept. That small churning is what is required in history, particularly. In all the subjects, this is required. So to make it even more simpler, thorough these subjects, Go accordingly with your teachers, the concerned teachers. Teachers are your guides. Teachers are your helpers. Go pester teachers. Trouble teachers. Ask teachers, because we teachers are here to help you out only. Because without an expertise learning, this process becomes difficult. See, when I took this exam, I've been hearing it from my seniors. Kritika, why do you take coaching? Getting it? It was like, people do study it from home. They do study it from library. They do study it by themselves. Because the pattern then was like self-study. You take an NCRT, you take a Hindu newspaper or any newspaper, you sit, you study, you would clear the exam. Because it was kind of, the overview was very simple. But since now the population is also getting more into this exam, and it's considered to be Asia's toughest exam, how would UPSC make sure that this exam stands out to make it little bit tough? That is why we always have a notion that it is one of the toughest exam, which is very true. But how to make the toughest exam easier? How do you make a tougher one easier? Study. Are you getting it? Study concepts clearly. Let this apply for all of them. I've not touched history so far. I'm just giving a general overview of how to study. So the first factor, take your fear out. Will I be able to clear this exam? Don't doubt yourself. I will be able to clear the exam should be your first move. If not me, who will clear? So start slightly alter your attitude. Because when you start fearing this exam, so you start watering fear. And when you water the fear, a plant which is growing inside, when you start watering that plant, what would grow? Fear would only grow. So don't do that. The first feel is be positive. Getting it, be very positive that you will be able to clear. So we all are very different. You all are different. You all come from different academic background. You all have different degrees. It's okay. But finally, this exam is for all. It's for a common platform. You be from a city, you be from a village, urbanized center, rural center, that's not a botheration at all. Are you able to understand the syllabus? Are you able to pick up the concept? Are you able to write an answer from that? Are you able to tick the right answer with your studies? If you have these four, this exam is for you. So are you getting it? So this exam is an overall open exam which is applied for all of them. So do not fear this exam, take it in a positive note. Don't think that, should I study all of them? Instead, make your attitude like, only few subjects are there. It's only few. I will complete it. Keep some small targets. See, your goal is to clear the exam. There's a difference between goal and a target. Your final goal is you're clearing the exam. But what is your target? The target is your process. So keep small targets that I would complete polity within these days. I will complete history within a month. I would complete economics within 40 days. So keep small targets accordingly so that when you start fulfilling the target, you will achieve completing the topic. And the moment you start completing each one of them with a teacher, you will feel confident. When do we lose confidence? We lose confidence when we do not know anything. And when you start knowing everything, you will be very confident. And that confidence will push you to study. And don't you think, again, I quote Gandhi. Gandhi, we'll be discussing that. So Gandhi always says that the complete freedom is not that Britishers leave India. The complete freedom lies within one's own self. So if you are mentally not free, are you getting it? If your thoughts are not setting you free, then who on earth will set you free? Even your parents telling us study, relatives telling us, teachers, we keep on telling study. But unless and until you think that if you want to study, you will start studying, isn't it? So where does everything start? Everything starts from you. So you have a feel that you should study, you will complete, you will clear. So when you start making everything the journey from you, you will see a very big change, I'm telling you. Do this for 1 week. Because again, Gandhi said, if you want to change something, be the change you want to see in others. First, you change yourself. Friends are studying, seniors are studying, my peer group is studying. Why do you bother? Let everyone study. But you study. Do not compare. When you start individually preparing for this exam, keep individual small targets or form small groups and study. But let the group be a healthy group. Let the group be a studying group. Let it not be a chit-chat group. Are you getting? Because the group will be formed for some purpose. But finally it will end like our Congress. Are you getting it? Started for something else, it will end for some, not the current one. I'm talking about the old one. Are you getting it? The aim would be something else. Getting it? It would land up as something else. It's again like the League of Nations. Started for something else, landed up where? As something else. Which means what? The process was somewhere wrong. So don't make that go wrong. It's like you need to control your thoughts. You need to control your actions. You see everything. I tell all my students it's all self. It's self-control. And the first important medicine for this preparation, one medicine, you all have it. Getting it? And that medicine, I'll tell you the medicine, but there's one disease also, everyone has got it. So the medicine is discipline. If you all have that imbibed discipline, be disciplined. If you have that self-discipline, again, trust me, mark my words, your journey will be very smooth. Wake up early, study concepts thoroughly, start taking tests everywhere, write your answers regularly, keep a check with yourself, talk to the teachers and get it right, then solve whatever is required for prelims, whatever is required for mains. What more you want in life? You will clear this journey easier. So that comes with discipline. And this discipline is been getting stopped one by biggest disease. What today we have called laziness. So everyone has got one big disease called laziness. So when you start throwing it out, you be disciplined. Mark my words again, you are on the right track. So this is a small note I always tell my students. I always start with a positive note because I'm not here to fear you. I'm not here to demotivate you because that will take me nowhere. That will take you also nowhere. Always let's study with full energy. Because our energy is so powerful. Our thoughts are very powerful. It manifests everything. So always make sure that you have right thoughts. Your thoughts are like, it's getting impressed. It should be impressive. So once your thoughts are impressive and positive, automatically the connection would be felt. So you will move on to a next level. Might sound a little bit philosophical and ethical, but but that's actually the truth. So keeping a note with that, keep a track of all these subjects, keep studying. Then coming on to your main subjects, the first important thing for your mains is your essay, followed by your optionals, followed again by history, geography, economics, polity, where we have governance here. Then we have international relations. Then we have, your science and tech plus others. Getting it, your disaster management, all the other one plus your ethics. Getting it? So don't you think certain topics are almost linked here only? History, geography, economics, polity, environment, science and tech, biodiversity, all of them. I'm clubbing it all together. So when you look at it, prelims has got a different set of paper. Mains has got a different set of paper. But when you study it together. When you study it together. Maybe you can sit for preparing for prelims separately. But when you study it together, don't split the topic. Say for example, I generally tell this example to all my students. When you study Akbar, how would you study Akbar for prelims and how would you study Akbar for mains? How can you take Akbar? Okay, Akbar, this part is mains. Akbar, you are prelims. How would you divide? How would you cut Akbar? Will you chop Akbar into two, telling, okay, you go to prelims and you go to mains? You can't, right? You can't do that. How will you know that which part of Gandhi comes for prelims and which part of Gandhi for mains? You don't know. Where would you cut? So it's nothing. So you need to have a holistic approach that I thorough Gandhi. I know Gandhi from top to bottom according to the syllabus. If you know that thoroughly, whatever question UPSC asks you in your prelims and in your mains, I'm telling you, you will clear. So that is what is your concept. So the basic understanding for this exam is your concept. So make your concepts very, very, very clear. Everyone, any topic, let it be any subject, your concepts to be very clear. So in all of them, if your concepts are very clear, you will get a confidence. So you will start moving up accordingly. So this is what is the right approach. So study everything. If you take history, study it for prelims and mains together. Maybe the month, now we are in September 30th. Maybe let's take it's October. Maybe this time is the right time for preparing mains. Are you getting it? And this is the right time for people who are appearing for next year. It will be the right time to target yourself. So study it together. Don't segregate it. When you write an answer on Akbar, that becomes what? Mains. When you do a multiple choice on Akbar, that becomes what? Your prelims. Are you getting the division? So don't club everything. Some students who tell me, ma'am, I study for prelims, I'll study for mains. That's fine. But don't tear the subject. Don't take the subject and accordingly divide it, because that will end up going where? End up going nowhere. So always club all of them and study together. Go with the teachers. Again, I'm telling you, teachers are your best guide, because teachers know the path of this exam. We all have sailed through this path. Are you getting it? It's like a snake would know a snake. Are you getting it? So we know the path. We know the path. We know where we did a mistake. We know what happened. How is the paper? How is the syllabus framed? So overall idea, we also keep a track. And the mistakes what we've done, we tell our students, do not do that. So I always tell my students, don't do this, because I've done all of them. Getting it? So I tell them, don't do. And always don'ts always will help you. Mistakes will make you learn things better. Getting it? That's what we always say, learn from failures. Where do you learn from failures? Do not fail. Learn from failures. Are you getting it? So we have failed somewhere. So when we tell you something, hear from us and then get the path and then move towards the journey. It's like a very big path. And the path, you're not all alone in the path. Look at you all. How many sitting in front? So you all are walking towards. You're not alone in the path. It may look as if you're alone, but you all are interconnected here and there. So so stay connected, know your path, know your journey, know your destination. What do you want? Do you want an IAS? Do you want an IPS? Do you want to be an IFS officer? Do you want that? Or just you want to clear? Know your path, have a goal there. Fix the goal, then fix it, then start walking. If you don't fix, where will you walk? I'll fall. Are you getting? Don't walk like that. Just spot it. Just mark it. Keep a dot. Keep a dot here and start here. You're somewhere here. Or someone are there, or someone is in the first floor, or somewhere on the ground floor. You have to climb, you have to climb. You have to climb and you have to come here. And this is your final destination. So how to reach that? Completion of these topics with a big concept clarity will help you to clear this exam. So this is the first thing I thought I would tell you. Getting it? Now moving on to history. This is a very general view of how to approach. Now coming on to history as a subject. When you look at history as a subject, again, when you look at history, I'm cutting history as history prelims and history mains. So how is history there for prelims and mains? When you overall take it, for our preliminary examination, we have ancient Indian history, we have medieval Indian history, we have art and culture. Generally students fear that, but that's nothing damn easy. Then we have our modern Indian history. So these are the 4 topics, which is there for your prelims. Every year we get 15 to 20 questions approximately for our prelims. Getting it? 15 to 20 questions, approximately a rough idea. 15 questions to 20 questions every year. We get it in which part? In history. So don't you think if it's 15 question, 30 mark, if it's 20 question, it's 40 mark. So don't you think history has a big weightage? Last year we had 21 questions in history, which means 42 mark. And I always take an average. I take an average of these two, 30 mark and 40 mark. I take an average of 35 marks. So we're not that greedy. So we'll come down. Getting it? So so the classes will be for what? Only 35 marks. So what is now UPSC trying? Is UPSC being factual? Not at all. Again, UPSC is being what? Conceptual only. Make your concepts clear. I'll tell you how to do that. So this is for your prelims. Getting it? Leave that. So this is a different ball game. As I told you, if your concepts are very clear. And one important thing about history is, the first one, your concepts to be very clear. Getting it? Your concepts. So how your concepts to be very clear? Listen to the teachers. Go with the teacher's order. And the teachers would give you some books to study. Study them, automatically your concepts will be clear. Because this subject is a very vast subject. And this subject is always a controversial subject. Someone would say something, some scholars would say something, then someone would say something. Are you getting? Then we teachers will say something, parents will say something, friends will say something. Don't you think so? One poor Indus Valley civilization. Are you getting? We're having 5 views about that. Ma'am, what to go about it? Should I take the parents' view? Or should I take the government's view? Or should I take the Hindu newspapers' view? Or should I take the historian's view? Or should I take your view? Teacher's view. Because we take all the view and we analyze the view and we present it in front of the students. So don't get confused. So are you getting? So people may write articles. They may write articles and they may publish it. What if the articles what they published is not ratified by the government? How do you know that? Mere reading a paper doesn't mean the paper is giving you all the facts. The paper is just giving you an analysis. Maybe the analysis may be in a different way. Maybe the analysis was hypothetical. How will you know that the analysis was hypothetical? So your job is not to do a research there. The job is with whom? The job is with us. So we teachers come here to play a very important role about the views. What did Ashoka think about Dhamma? Getting it? There are multiple views. But what does the teacher finally says? That's the final view. Why? Because the teacher takes what? The historical balanced view and we present it. So do not get a doubt. Getting it? Don't give your view. The only subject where arguments are never encouraged in UPSC is history. Why did Gandhi accept for partition? I tell it in a funny way. Please go ask Gandhi. Are you getting? I tell it in a funny way. But we do have some facts. Why Gandhi accepted for partition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 points. If you know the 5 points, there was no other option. Gandhi was forced to accept for partition. If you know the 5 points, you omit it. Your concepts are clear. How will you know that? Classes. So concepts are clear with what? Concepts are clear with classes only. I purely believe on classes. The way you learn from a teacher and conventional way. It's like a Gurukula pattern. The guru teaches, the Shishya listens, and you learn with the teacher in a primitive way of learning is the only art of learning. You hear from the teacher. That's why you see from day one, our Vedic education was all heard. We hear, it's called Shruti. What is Shruti? You hear everything. So you hear from the teacher and you study. And when you hear from the teacher's voice would be heard. Plus your concepts are very clear. So that 2 hours or 2.5 hours of classes would go fruitful. So that your concepts to be very clear in history. The second one in history is all about chronology. Chronology is very, very important. So why chronology? You can't pick history just like that. Getting it? When we teach, say for example, again I take the popular ruler, Krishna Deva Raya. We all know Krishna Deva Raya. So who was the precursor? Who came before Krishna Deva Raya? Who came after Krishna Deva Raya? If you take Krishna Deva Raya, he belonged to the Vijayanagar Empire. So what is the timeline of Vijayanagar Empire? So chronology is what? We go with the timeline. If you miss your timeline, it's like you miss your facts. Your concepts will never be clear. See, all these are interlinked. How to make your concepts clear? Again, don't you think chronology? When your chronology is strong, don't you think your concepts are clear? So these two goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand here. So you need to keep a chronology. Say for example, what was the bracket of the Mughals, the Mughal Empire? You should know the bracket. What was the timeline of Lord Dalhousie? You should know it. Getting it? Not mere just studying what is Regulating Act. Everyone on earth will know that 1773 is Regulating Act. But if I ask you the features only, we'll start dancing. Are you getting it? Because you can't study it bluntly. If you do not know the backup of history, if you do not know the policies of Warren Hastings, you will not understand Regulating Act. As simple as that. So to know Warren Hastings, we need to know the East India Company. To know the company, we need to know the policy of Britain. To know the policy of Britain, we need to study world history. So every topic is interlinked. But do we do it all together? Not at all. Classes are cut. We cut each and every topic and we teach. Because UPSC generally asks a question on chronology. Say for example, I'll give you a small example. The Treaty of Salbai. Number 1, the Permanent Settlement. Number 3, the Pitt's India Act. Number 4, the Treaty of Pondicherry. Arrange them in chronological order. You should know. So don't give me, some are giving me scary looks. Don't worry. Getting it? Once you start studying, you will know the year of all of them. And if you know the year of all of them, you will start arranging them. Obviously, your chronology would be intact. Which kingdom came first? Guptas or Mauryas? Pallavas or Chola? Chalukyas or Vakataka? Indus Valley or Vedas? You should know them. If you know the timeline chronologically, you stand very strong here. It's like a stamp. You nail it. And once this is strong, this will be strong. Once this is strong, automatically this will be strong. So these two are mandatory for studying history. See, it's not like other subjects, It's like, I pick a particular topic, getting it? Today I pick say let's take in geography, I can pick ocean, start from ocean. Or we can pick from governor, start from governor. Or I can pick from child marriage and social issues and start speaking. But here, if I want to pick Akbar, I can't pick Akbar. Akbar will not come. He'll say, Kritika, go to Delhi Sultanate and then take me. When I pick Delhi Sultanate, they'll say, go to Gori. Then only you will pick me. If I go to Gori, Gori will say, go to Ghazni. Ghazni will say, go to Rajputs. Rajputs will say, please contact Harsha. Harsha will say, please Guptas. Guptas will say, please Kanishka, Kushan. Kushans will say, please Maurya. Mauryas will say, please Mahajanapata. Mahajanapata will say, please Vedas. Vedic age. Vedas will say, I'm so sorry, contact the proto-historians, the Harappans. So Harappans will say, please Chalcolithic. So Chalcolithic will say, please my ancestors, Neolithic, Mesolithic, Paleolithic. We are done. History is over. So are you getting? So that's it. So you can't pick one. To study the Mesolithic man, you should know Paleolithic man. To study Harsha, you should know Guptas. Without that, you can't study history, and it comes in a story format. That's what I always say. History is all about what? Stories. Ma'am, should I remember all the stories? No, not all stories are important, but there are some factual stories which you need to know. And as students of history, we need to know. Getting it? And these stories are what? These stories are facts. Again, these stories are again facts. It's a factual story. None of my stories in class are entertainment stories. It's all fact. There is something inside that. And all my classes are all full of stories, because I teach with stories only. I'm a very good storyteller. Are you getting? I always bagged all the first prize in storytelling competition, and I'm putting all that with you. But factual stories, because what? I make history in a story format so that you visualize, so that you understand, so that your facts are very strong. So why did Shah Jahan build the Taj Mahal? There's a story. What did Shah Jahan? What happened after Mumtaz died? What happened to Shah Jahan? Where did he walk and go? What did he lament? Then suddenly he saw something. He said, I want this. Then he saw the marble. There's a small cutie story there. So when you start doing that, you'll automatically know why Agra, why that particular place, why marble, why Raja Jai Singh. Getting it? Why a bulbous dome? All these facts are there if you know this. So again, don't you think your stories will make your timeline strong? Your stories again will make your concepts strong. Your concepts will make your timeline strong. Your concepts will make what? Your story strong. So don't you think, again, I put an arrow here, again. So don't you think they all are interlinked? So these three are only required for history. If you know these three with the teachers, or you study it, you know, your history is thorough. Nothing else, nothing else. But again, ma'am, how many concepts to remember? See, history is a very simple subject. Why? Because we study about our ancestors. We're studying about our past. And history will give you a very big sense of pride. You'll be like, wow, I know my people much better. Are you getting? So you want to create a better future tomorrow. Where will you go and turn yourself? You turn yourself to history so that you'll know that, okay, I was like this. Am I like this today? It may take you to the positive and negative side also. But we are moving towards the positivity. So history should be like that only. So these are the 4 parts. We do it for our prelims. So leave that. Again for mains, what are the topics for mains? When you look at it, again we have ancient, again we have medieval, again we have art and culture, then we have modern. So the same 4 applies for mains. Plus we have our post-independence, then we have our world history. So these are the 6 chapters, topics. We do it for our mains. So there are some 2 extra ones which we fall it under, which falls under mains. So these 2 were added in 2013 only. See, before 2013, art and culture was not there. World history was not there. Getting it? Hardly we get a question on ancient and medieval. So before 2013, history was only modern Indian history. So people would start studying from what? The death of Aurangzeb. How did Aurangzeb die? No. Aurangzeb died. We'll start modern. Are you getting? But now we have something called medieval India. Getting it? What were the reasons for the decline of Mughal Empire? So when you know the medieval India, don't you think automatically your modern gets in a chronological pattern? So history is a linked subject. So chronology plays a very, very important role here. So this is one thought I thought I'll tell you. Again for our mains, history falls under GS paper 1, which is for 250 marks. Getting it? So you can't skip history. See, there are times, getting it? Even this year, I'll be able to prove it. So whenever I teach, I always tell this to my students, study all of them thoroughly. Ma'am, they don't ask any questions on post-independence. Why should I study? I'm like, come on, what if they ask you next year? What if they don't ask? What if they ask? Why do you want to take a chance in this exam? This exam, as I told you, it takes everything out from you, isn't it? Not taken. It'll take. Are you getting? The exam will take everything out from you. Which means, why do you want to take a chance? When you want to write this exam, give your 100%. So don't take a chance. Ma'am, world history doesn't come. Why should I study world history? My world history kids were all asking me, ma'am, hardly we get a question, ma'am, why should I study? I'm like, Pat, study. Study. What if they ask you? Even let they ask you 1, or let they ask you 4, or let they not even ask you anything. It's okay, na? But the syllabus is clearly given that world history is there. So don't skip any topics in this exam. Skipping is not a very good idea in this exam. And there's always something called the law of the universe. The one Rita, the law of the universe, what you study will not come. What you don't study will come. Are you getting? That's always there. It works for majority of the people. Maybe if your star was there on your head when the day you write your exam, maybe what you study might come. But majority, don't you think? From schools, we've been into it. What you don't study will only come. So don't give a chance for UPSC. Thorough everything, thorough all. And when you thorough all, you get one good confidence. And this 250 mark this year, history was with, we got 75 marks. We got it from history this year. Last year, it was again 120. So getting every year, the marks keep fluctuating here and there. So again, we are going with main. So this is the overall understanding about how to approach history. Keep these 3 things in mind. Getting it? When you keep these 3 things in mind, to write this exam, you need to have something in your head. And that something is again what? The subject. So without having a basic idea of all of them, you can't tick your answer for your prelims. You can't write for your mains. So this is what? So make your concepts very, very clear. So is it fine? So clear with the basics of history? Not to worry. Classes would be on chronological pattern only. Getting it? Now moving on to mains. How to approach history in our GS paper 1, particularly for mains. So I'm directly moving on to how to prepare for mains. So GS mains, again, we move on to history. When you look at the pattern, see, every 10 years, UPSC keeps changing the pattern. So 2013, now 2023. So what is the pattern? What is the trend of history? Again, the first thing what UPSC is trying to tell things in history is, again, it is a conceptual clarity only. You have to be very clear with your concepts. I'll prove it. I'm going to teach you the questions with the answer. So are you clear with your concepts? Getting it? That's the first thing what UPSC is again trying to say. The second thing is, history mains paper is generally general. It's a general paper. Are you getting it? What were the differences between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore on education and nationalism? What were? So it's a very general. Don't you think it looks very general? Differences between Gandhi and Tagore on education, on nationalism. It looks very general. But don't you think it looks general, but you need to have what idea? A conceptual idea. If you do not know Gandhi, if you do not know Tagore, if in classes, if you would have missed this, the question would have been difficult. Again, where do we come? We come to the story only. Gandhi and Tagore met. So are you getting, so you hear it from whom? From the teacher. NCRT's, your book will give you the facts. But UPSC is never asking you a fact. They're not asking you to vomit a fact. See, spitting facts will not help. Keep that in mind. You don't spit facts. Because it's general studies. Spitting facts, I think with root learning, we all can do it pretty well. From day one, we've been doing that only. But root learning will not help you in this exam. You have to think. You have to think. See, when I wrote this exam, that was my breaking point in my life. Again, I tell this to all my students. I'm a historian, background history. I became an assistant professor of Madras University at a very young age. I was teaching there. But when I gave this exam, UPSC exam, as a student, when I gave this exam, that one question shook me. And that one question changed me also. That was my breaking point, in this exam. The question was, what was the similarity and differences between Jawaharlal Nehru and Lord Curzon? I had this question. I know Nehru thoroughly. I know Curzon thoroughly. No one can thorough Curzon and Nehru like me. Because my research was so much in detail. But never in my college or never I as an assistant professor have taught these connection to my children. None of the teachers taught me this connection. I as a teacher also did not teach this to my university students. But the moment I saw that paper in my mains, it was like, it shook me. I'm like, how could you people frame such a question? How could you people think on these way? Look at Curzon. Are you getting it? Partition of Bengal, 1905. Look at Nehru, independence, 1929, Purna Swaraj, we'll take it. First President, Prime Minister of India. Two extreme different period, extreme personality, but what is UPSC trying to ask you? Give the similarity and differences. For 2 minutes, it stuck me. Then I took a pencil, I started writing Nehru in the rough column. I know all Nehru, I wrote it. And I wrote Curzon thoroughly, all in a haphazard way. In a chronological way, I wrote it. After writing it, then I took the pencil, I started moving with the arrow. I found 5 beautiful similarity only in the examination hall. My thought process was so strong that I found the answer in the hall. It took a little bit time for me to work. Then I realized, that was my first mains. Then I realized that UPSC is going to ask you something to think. So why should I think it in the examination hall? I will think it in my classroom program itself. That's why I make my students think. I do ask them a casual thing. What if Gandhi had an iPhone? Are you getting? Gandhi would have said, tomorrow quit India movement, click. What if Gandhi had a Facebook account? What if Gandhi was having in YouTube? Example, it's not going to happen. But don't you think social media plays a very important role in connection? Are you getting it? What if Indigos were running and Air India were running? Gandhi would have taken a flight. None of them would have thrown him out from the compartment. Are you getting it? Things would have been very different. Ambedkar would always be moving with a Kindle only then. Are you getting it? Always. So what if? See, it's just hypothetical. It's imaginary. But when you start thinking, don't you think we get a better feel? Things would have been much better. Because today we live in a world of technology. Technology and we are like inseparable. We are not able to separate ourselves. But yet, there were people, without technology, they united all of us. And that credit goes to Gandhi only, no doubt. So that is the power of Gandhi. That is what we study. With these kind of technologies today, without them at that point of time, a mass movement was led without any disturbance. And people confidently trusted that one leader. And that is why he was given a title Maha Atma, getting it a great soul of that time. And who confirmed the title? Tagore gave him the title. And look at the question this year, differences between Tagore and Gandhi. See, there were differences of opinion. There were similarities, but it's okay. If you know Tagore and Gandhi thoroughly, you will be able to write this year's mains paper. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So don't fear. Ma'am, which book gives this question? Curzon and Nehru, never they gave it. But in the examination hall, I was able to think. What if tomorrow they ask you, connect Osama and Obama? If you know Osama, if you know Obama, connect. If you know them, connect. But which book will you say Osama and Obama? Now I'm giving a hypothetical example. Are you getting it? So what happened? If you know them thoroughly, if those two characters are there in the syllabus, connect. Are you getting? I tell my optional kids this only. Thorough Gandhi Ambedkar, Gandhi Tagore, Gandhi Bose. Getting it? If you're thorough, because these are the disputed, kind of some small disputes did happen. But they were all towards the freedom struggle only. But yet, they had some sort of differences. How do you know the differences? If you study them only. How do you study? How do you study? Teacher only. So this is what I'm telling you to making you understand. It will look general, but again, where do you go? You go with concepts. The third one in history, the simplest subject in UPSC is history. Use simple words. Jargons are not allowed. We don't want Shashi Tharoor. Are you getting it? We want Sudha Murthy. We want people who write simple English without grammatical, are you getting it? Errors. Basic English, so that your communication is validated. That is what is required in history. So that high-fi words, that, are you getting? We don't want any one of them. Keep it very simple. Keep it, your profile should be low. Keep a low profile, your answer. And when you're simple, it will be even more attractive. So this is what you need to require. Your conceptual clarity, your general, the questions will be so general, and then keep it very simple. And again, add years wherever you want. A history answer without years is incomplete. If you don't add years, your answer will look like a sociology answer, or your answer will look like an economic answer. You have to hit years. Hit years everywhere. So though it's for general studies only, but not all years are important. But there are some years which is important. Again, if they ask you Mahatma Gandhi, give the year of Gandhi. You know the year of Gandhi. You will be studying it in what? Your classes. You will be studying the year of Tagore in your classes. Ma'am, what if I do not know? Then leave. But at least some years to be added. Not if one, some. Or give the overall bracket. If they ask you Vedic age, give the overall bracket of Vedic age. If they ask you about trains, railways, Industrial Revolution, give the bracket of Industrial Revolution. Again, if they ask you about a revolt, give the overall bracket. Ma'am, I do not know the bracket. Again, the trick is go with centuries. From the 15th century to 17th century, go. You get at least go there. Again, smartest one. So either pick up some numbers. History goes well with numbers, not mathematical number, the years. When you start giving that, your answer will look complete. Your answer will look complete. So I'm going to prove it now. Getting it, we are going to see that now. And the topics what we've discussed, what has been asked so far in history is all direct. And how do we get question? The questions are generally what? The questions are generally elaborate. The questions are generally discuss. The questions are generally again how. Getting it? It's all like what, how, why, when, where, elaborate, discuss. Generally, it's for general studies. See, optional pattern changes. But for history, this is the major pattern. Getting it? Generally, they ask you to what? Elaborate. Again, discuss, analyze. Getting it? Examine. Again, they give you examine. These are the major patterns for history. So how do you write what? What? You just give the answer. What? When I ask you what, you give the answer for that. What were the major reasons for the revolts in India? What? So start writing the reason. What? Direct? Don't you think it's direct? So again, keep the language simple here. Again, elaborate. Elaborate is what? You have to give both the pros and cons in detail. Elaborate is nothing but discuss in detail. You have to examine. Write all of them in detail. See, everything comes in detail. And whenever you want to write about a particular topic, do the pros and cons. First, write the negatives, end with a positive note. When they ask you to write negative, then go on with negatives. If they do not ask you, do not write. If they ask you generally, discuss. Discuss means you have to write both positive and negative. Because many students, they just write only the positive. If I ask you to discuss, what will come? Both positive and negative will come. Again, examine, both positive and negative will come. So you need to write all of them. Maybe keep the negatives little bit. And maybe elaborate what? The positives more. Keep it like that. Again, if they ask you to comment, this will rarest of rare it would come. What is comment? Negative. Then go with negative. So there are some rulers where the policies, it turned against them. Let's take an example, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq's, backfired him, his policy. So again, it's a failure. So if there is a failure policy, if there is something negative, then UPSC will ask you negative. My students will come and tell me, ma'am, how to write negative? There will definitely be an answer, think. There will definitely be an answer. Say for example, iron led to revolution. How did the process of iron impact the society of India? A small question. How did the process of iron technology impact? How? The question is how? Impact the society of India during the ancient times. Let's keep it simple. So it's how. You have to write iron, positive and negative. Don't you think when iron entered India, they started making agricultural tools? So with agricultural tools, what happened? Plowshare, iron plowshare, production doubled. What is the negative impact of iron? Weapons. They made weapons. When they made weapons, they led to what? Destruction. So don't you think one iron, we have a positive note, we have a negative note also. So you have to think, you have to think. So don't think that UPSC has asked something. No, not at all. I told you the Curzon and Nehru story. That was my breaking point. So when UPSC asks you something, there would definitely be an answer. The Guptan age is not a golden age. Justify. What will you write? It's not a golden age. You have to write, no ma'am, in school I studied it's golden age. Parents said it's gold, 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 gold. We all know it's golden age. No. If they say justify, it's not a golden age. And there are some 20 points to write that it is not a golden age. It's a myth and reality. So how do you know? How do you know that? When you study. When you study only, you'll know to weigh it on two sides. If UPSC asks you this side, if they ask you this side, throw them. Or if they ask you a balanced view, take the positive, take the negative, churn your answer accordingly to this pattern. If you bring it accordingly to this pattern, your answer would be complete. So how are you getting it? So this is how history pattern would generally be. The next thing what I wanted to tell you is, in history, generally we get it for what? 10 marks. We get it for 15 marks. Generally in history for general studies. When you get it for 10 marks, are you getting it? How many pages should you write? Yeah. When you generally make it what? For 10 marks, it is for 1 page or 1.5 page. So UPSC will give you a space there, you start doing that. Getting it? So that would be the 10 mark, 15 mark is there for our paper. You'll get the spaces being mentioned there. So go accordingly. Do not go beyond this. So make sure if it's 10 mark, 1 page, max to max you can limit it to what? Plus or minus 10%. You can go. Else cut short it. If they ask you again 150 words, are you getting it? 150 words, which will be 15 mark. Are you getting it? So keep it simple. 10 word, 10 marks. It will be 100 words or 150 word. Keep it to 1.5 page. And you will be given some spaces. So stick on accordingly. So when you keep these also in mind, because word limit is something very important. Be short, be crisp, and we'll move on. Now I'll just start taking the paper. We'll go on with the paper discussion now. So now 2023 History Mains, which falls under GS paper 1. You can start writing if you want. So what was the first question? It was explain the role of. If you want, you can write. Explain the role of geographical factors. Explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. So this is for how many mark? 10 mark. Getting it, ma? 150 words. 10 mark, which means 1.5 page. 150 words, 1.5 page, 10 marks. Getting it, the line would be given. Now when you look at the question, ma, keep it very simple as I told you. Explain. Getting it, which means you're going to give everything in detail. You're going to explain the examiner that the role of geographical factors. So what were the geographical factors towards the development of ancient India? Take a pencil and underline the keyword. So there are 2 keywords in this question. First one is geographical factors of India. The second keyword is what? Ancient India. And what are they asking? What is the crux here? The crux here is development. Development is the crux. How geography helped ancient India to develop. Simple. So it's a very, again I'm coming here. It's a very simple, it looks very general. But don't you think to write this general answer, you need to know concepts. First, if you do not know concepts, again it will be difficult here. So what are we going to write again? Again, let me discuss what is ancient India. Ancient India falls from Indus Valley civilization till Harshavardhana. First, let's know what is ancient India. What is the bracket of ancient India? Which includes South India also. Because they're not saying ancient North India. It's ancient India. So ancient Indus Valley to Harsha, which falls in North India. When you take South India, we take the kingdom of Chera, Chola, Pandyas, the Satavahanas, and the Vakatakas. Getting it, Pallavas and Chalukyas will come half here. But we'll overall take them. Chera, Chola, Pandya, Satavahanas, the Vakatakas, Indus Valley till Harsha. This is ancient India first. Now let's go to the geographical factor. See, first when you start any question, there are 3 parts to answer a question. Keep this in mind. The first one will be introduction. The second one will be, first one is your introduction. The second one is your body, the content. The third one is your conclusion. So your answer should have these 3 parts everywhere. Make sure you write a small introduction. So introduction, go to 2 to 3 lines. 2 to 3 lines will be perfect for introduction. Clear? So what introduction will you give here? The geographical factors. So what are you going to write? You can give a very basic introduction that the geographical factors helped India. Yeah, the geographical factors helped India to develop herself as a nation. So what are the basic geographical features we see here? It's not working. Okay, I use the same one. So what are the first geographical features we say? The first one is the Himalayas. Himalayas is the first geographical feature, followed by the second one, we have the river system, the perennial rivers of North India. So here you can give example of Indus, you can give example of Ganges, you can give the example of Brahmaputra. So don't you think with your geographical knowledge, you are able to connect it together? So give examples of these three. The third one, you can talk about the monsoons in India. So what are the major monsoons we have? The southwest monsoon, then the northeast monsoon. Getting it? So we have the two great monsoons. Just elaborate it. Just know. I'm just giving you an idea. Then we have the deserts. Then we have the jungles. Forests. We have our forests. Then we have our valleys. Then in southern India, we have our ocean, sea and ocean. So these are the major geographical features. So give a small, that should be your body. So your body should be the geographical features of India, your physical geography. The geographical factors. Are you getting what are the geographical features of India? Elaborate them. Getting it? Just elaborate them. The Himalayas, the river, the perennial river systems of North India, the non-perennial river systems of South India. Then the monsoons of India, the plains, the plateau. Getting it? So write all the geographical features. When you write all the geographical features, you've given an introduction about what is geographical feature. Then coming to the body about all of them, underline. Just underline the examples. Indus, Ganga, getting it? Valley, the Thar desert, getting the Brahmaputra valley, get the central India forest region. Just try to underline. Now what is the next part? How did it help towards the development of ancient India? So this geographical factors, how did it help ancient India? When we look at development here, we have to divide it into few parts. Again, I am dividing development into four. One is the political development. The second one is economic development. The third one is social development. And the fourth one is religious development. How did the polity of India develop with geography? So you need to first understand, don't be general, split it up. History should always go in a structured format. When you put everything together, you rotate it, it'll look clumsy. Don't make it clumsy. Always come in an organized way. Write the geographical factors. The major geographical factors of India is or India are. Write all of them. Then open a next paragraph and then write the development, the political development. So what is the political development? When I go to the political development, how did the political development happen here? Don't you think all major kingdoms were there on the river valleys only? So getting it? So you can write example. So you can write all major kingdoms. All major kingdoms were established on what? On the valleys of river. On the valleys of rivers. So here you can quote an example that the best example we take it is Indus Valley civilization. Even many Vedic cities were placed where? On the banks of rivers only. You can give what? Example as Kashi. You can give example of Prayag. Getting it? You can give all these examples. You can give example of Patliputra, Magadha, Magadhan capital. So give examples, give two lines. I think with studies you would have known it. So example, Indus Valley was on the valleys of Indus, Kashi, getting it, Varanasi, all these were established on the banks of riverbed only. So Indian culture would always be riverine culture. Our culture was always riverine. All our great centers were on the valleys of what? Rivers only. So that's the first and don't you think this political development was something very important for the strategic location also? Where I am located is the strategic point of my kingdom. So geography played a very important role to strategize my kingdom politically. That's the political development. So I've given you this as South Indian example, North Indian example. When you come to South, again you can take Tanjore. Tanjore is on the banks of river Kaveri. Getting it? So when you start taking these rivers as example, getting it? You support the point called polity. Again, the second one, political, you can take one more example here. The Chota Nagpur Plateau region. Because politically, geography plays a very important role in the Chota Nagpur Plateau region, full of what is it? Found with iron deposits. So the entire Magadha was located where? In the Chota Nagpur Plateau region. So you can take that example number 2. Again, coming on to the second one, economic development. How did geography help in economic development? Again, when you look at it, again, what do we say? Cities were established. And these cities had what? Raw materials. Don't you think our geography gives us lots of raw material? Again, you can quote what? Chota Nagpur Plateau is equal to iron. River as sources of livelihood. Again, you can come there only. So economic development started with what? Again, all the valleys promoted what? Agricultural production. Getting it? The Indo-Ganga Valley, getting it? The Indus Valley, the Brahmaputra Valley, agricultural production doubled. When agricultural production doubled, what development is it called? It's an economic development. And don't you think when agriculture developed, automatically cities would develop? And when cities come, what would obviously be established? Markets. And when markets come, what is the core ideology called? It's called what? Urbanization. So when urbanization is the element, the core idea of urbanization is what? Trade and commerce. So don't you think all these are happening because of what? The geographical factors which is hitting on what? The economic development. So you need to collaborate the entire ancient India together. Say for example, there was a ruler called Harsha. Harsha wanted to keep Kannauj as his capital just because Kannauj, the western bank of Kannauj had river Ganga. He wanted a strategic point of North India. He chose Kannauj. Again, geography comes there. So you start from Indus Valley, you come till Harsha. If you keep on knowing all the chronological pattern, this comes here, the second one. The third one, how did geography affect? What was the social development of geography? What happened? Geography, don't you think, it removed all the barriers of caste? People started moving and people started settling where? Near cities. So obviously, what will be the social one? People started to migrate to cities. And when they migrate to cities, what will cities give? Cities will be multicultural. So all sorts of cultures would be there in the city. Again, you can take example, the first urbanization, Indus Valley. The second urbanization, Mahajanapada. You can give example because Magadha was multicultural. Magadha was multilingual. Again, you can take that as what? Society developed. And Magadha did not give prior importance to the Vedic ideologies of Varna, Jati and Gotra. So automatically, don't you think it removed the caste barrier? Because cities will never ask you the caste. Cities will never ask you the background. It's only the rural part. Again, what comes here? A social development took place where it linked people together. So that is what we say, geography developed the social pattern of ancient India also. The last one when we take religious development. So how does geography affect religion? See, in India, from day one, all natural elements were worshipped. Sun was worshipped as Surya. River was worshipped as Ganga or as Sindhu or as Saraswati. Getting it? Rain was worshipped as Indra. Moon was worshipped as Chandra. The earth was worshipped as Prithvi. Getting it? Or Bhudevi. So all geographical factors in India was worshipped. And again, you can again quote what? It provided religious sentiment here because which became the holy river? Ganga became the holy river. In south, we have a holy river called Kaveri, was called the southern Ganga. So these were all worshipped. Later, where it developed into what? Pilgrim centers. Don't you think the same Kashi, which established into what? A great, a holy place, a pilgrim center. The same Prayag again, Kumbh Mela, getting it, Allahabad again. So what happened? All the geographical factors. People worship mountains. Kailash is worshipped. Why? Because who resides in Kailash? Shiva, Lord Shiva. So again, that's a geographical factor. So you need to put all of them together, give varieties of example, pick one from each kingdom, and when you give it, your answer looks consolidated. It will look like as if you knew the entire ancient India thoroughly. And you have to structure this with 1.5 page only. It looks very big. You can even write bigger one, but you have to crisp it small and then make it. So this is what is the approach. Then how do you conclude? Thus geography, Indian geography plays a very vital role. And our geography, don't you think it was acting as a barrier? Our geography, the oceans of South India was always a barrier. The oceans promoted trade. The Chera Chola Pandyas traded with all the countries of the world across. So Himalayas proved as the greatest barrier. Being a tropical country, getting it, the monsoons, all of them were affected by what? The great Himalayas. So thus, geography plays a conducive role in promotion of human development. Just complete it. And whenever you're stuck with conclusion, always the clue is go with thus, therefore, henceforth. These you can use it for what? The history one. Because here the question is what? The question is explain. So this is what it is. So don't you think to answer this question, you need to know the entire ancient India thoroughly? Without knowing ancient India thoroughly, this answer would be incomplete. And history should always go with examples. Hit the examiner with examples. Give lots and lots of examples. So clear with that? Number 2. We'll move on to the second question. Yeah. This is Indian only, ancient India. Yeah, you can write. There are lots of factors. You can write Himalayas, the mountain, the valleys, the plain. You can write. No, but you can write. The Khyber and the Bolan Pass is where Alexander entered India. You can write. You can add because it's all too much of information. Consolidate it, make it small and then write it. Clear? The second question. It didn't affect, ma. Explain the role of geographical factor in the development of ancient India. So when you say development, it's positive. We don't take the negative. So as she said, we have lots of passes also there. So Ghazni entered via the Khyber Pass. Alexander entered. So passes proved what? People to enter. But that sounds slight negative. So we'll cut the negative. We take only what? The growth, only the development. Yeah. No, you can prioritize. When you take development, varieties of, there are huge number of points here. Take examples for each point. For a mountain, you can take Himalayas. For a pass, you can take Khyber. For a river, you can take Ganga. For a valley, take Brahmaputra Valley. For a forest, take the forest of central India. So take them. Yeah. Clear? Yeah. Be louder. Yeah. Yeah. No, history, generally you don't connect it with current. It's a factual subject. You're just going to process your thoughts and you're going to write. The dimension is history is always the traditional method. So you need not think something differently. It's a factual subject. Think according to your limit of the syllabus. So go there, don't go somewhere. Dimensions are not asked here. It's a traditional subject. Be to the point, but don't be negative in this question because this question doesn't require negativity. It is a pure positive question only because it's human development. Clear? Practice. See, all writing comes with practice. Nothing like practice. You start writing, you will get yourself in a better way. When you don't write, then you'll be stuck. Everything begins with practice because if you don't write an answer, what's happening? When you don't write an answer, it will be like what? You're stuck at some point of time. Always make sure you write because previous year question and the syllabus is the key for UPSC. I keep on telling these two. PYQ plays a very, very important role. So what is UPSC again fixing? PYQ. That's why we always, pick PYQ and we thorough PYQ. And the syllabus. See, those days are gone. Many, I've heard many telling, ma'am, mains, generally we don't get ancient and medieval India. It's only art and culture. But I keep on telling my students for the past 10 years, don't take that side at all. Mains is never art and culture. It's ancient, medieval, art and culture, modern, post-world. They can ask you anything in the syllabus. And look at this here. There were direct questions from what? Delhi Sultanate. Which means what? Where is culture here again coming? Technology has come. Though we can link it there. But don't you think without knowing the fact you can't study? So always make sure that you have a analysis of completing the topic. That should be your goal there. Writing comes when you practice. Practice and answer writing comes when your concepts are clear. Concepts are clear when you study. You study well with the teacher. So finally, where do you all come and stand? You stand with the teacher. So this is there. Let me just go on with the discussion. Then I'll come to your personal doubts like how to write. We'll do it at the end.
Ma'am.
Let me just brief you how we are moving towards the question.
Ma'am,
yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Ma'am, does making an Indian geographical map and pointing out those important places which you mentioned like IVC and Chota Nagpur Plateau is a good approach for this question?
You can.
Okay.
History writing, you can make points, you can go in paragraphs, you can make a table. Flow charts are generally not allowed. But you can draw a small map of India and then you can shade it. You can write, okay, the mountains, the Vindhya, the Satpura, you can write it. You can do it. It's a good approach. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go on to the second question. What's the second question, ma? What was the difference between, yeah, take down. What was the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore? Tagore in the approach towards education and nationalism. So again, the question is very simple, what? So they're asking what. So when they ask you what, you have to directly give the answer. So this question has got two parts. Getting it? So who are the key players in this question? Mahatma Gandhi and Tagore. So getting it? So in the introduction, what are we going to write? A brief about Gandhi and Tagore, a small note. So what do you write? Gandhi and Tagore were great patriots and freedom fighter who propounded few theories for our Indian independence. They lived at the same time, shared same views together, but yet they differed in few concepts because there's a difference. Are you getting it? So they were all together. They were living together. They met each other. So you're not going to write Gandhi was born on October 2nd. No, we don't want them. Are you getting it? So do understand. It's understood. They're not asking you early life of Gandhi. Getting it? What was the difference? So here the key word is what? Difference between Gandhi and Tagore. Getting it on what? On education and nationalism. So a small introduction about what? Gandhi and Tagore. If you know the year, you can write the year. If you know the year. Some random years you can give. Say for example, 1920, non-cooperation movement, you can give it for whom? Gandhi. Tagore, after World War I, Tagore's approach changed towards everything. So you can quote 1914, Geetanjali, getting it 1918, 1913. You can give some years, rough year. Ma'am, I do not know anything. But when you study in classes, you will know. You will know because teachers will make you remember the year. So it's not like I do not know. Maybe now you do not know. But when you do the classes, you will definitely know the years of both of them. Even Ambedkar, even Tilak, even Patel, even Prasad, even what? Bose, everyone, even Bhagat Singh, Ram Prasad, but you will know the years definitely because teachers start with a year only. Getting it? So give a small note about them. Then what do they ask? Differences between Gandhi and Tagore. There are two ways to approach this question. Either you can make two paragraphs or you can make a table, whichever you want. You can just split the paper into two and you can make a table writing Gandhi and you can write a table on Tagore. You can do that also because here it is only differences, not similarity. So I'm just going to make a small table to make you understand. So Gandhi's view. Let's take view on education. So what was Gandhi's view on education? So let me take this side as Gandhi. Let me take this as Tagore. Yeah. Fine. So Gandhi and Tagore. So when you look at Gandhi and Tagore, a small brief and introduction. Let me tell you first. When you look at Gandhi, Gandhi believed in basic education. Getting it? Basic, you can write it. The first one you can write. Gandhi believed in basic education of a child. So what is basic education? You start from the scratch. Basic education of a child was the first core belief of Gandhi, number one. Getting it? So in short, I can write Gandhi believed in what? Complete development. When basic education, which gives what? Complete development of a child. So basic education where complete development of a child is happening. Start from LKG till 12th. Your complete education is over. That is the belief of Gandhi. So what was the belief of Tagore? He also believed in basic education. So which means that will be a similarity. But here for Gandhi, it is like complete education. Overall analysis is done here. But here what did Tagore say? Basic education is fine. But self-realization should be the goal. So the child should realize whom? It's one's own self. So self-realization was the goal. That is what Tagore said. See, Tagore was a spiritual leader. Tagore was a poet. Tagore was a painter. Tagore was an essayist. He was a novelist. He was a scholar. He was a linguist. Put all of them to Tagore. But Gandhi, a patriot, a freedom fighter. Getting it? So Gandhi was a mass leader. Tagore was never a mass leader. Both were writing articles. Gandhi write article, Tagore also writes article. So his education was what? You first understand what you study and realize your own self. So that is what we say. Tagore's education was based on spiritualism. His education was based on spiritualism. So that was Tagore's education. This is the first differences what we take. The second thing what Gandhi said was promotion of Indian culture. Promotion of Indian culture through values. So promotion of Indian culture through values. That is what was what? Gandhi's education. But what was Tagore's education? Tagore always believed in Western ideas. Inculcate Western idea also in Indian education. This is typically Indian culture and value. But Tagore was promoting Plato's idea. So Tagore was more Plato-centric. What is that? Creative ideas to be inculcated. Gandhi was like, you have to study like this. Plato was like, study whatever you want, but make sure your limits are known. So it was more what? Western ideas were inculcated. Here Indian culture, Indian value, Indian centric was there. Because when everything is Indian, what will be the outcome? Indian. Are you getting the outcome also will be Indian? The person who comes out from the education will be what? Pure Indian with ethics, moral value, brotherhood, justice, equality, all would be here. But here, Tagore was like he wanted to create a citizen of a cosmopolitan citizen, an international citizen. That is what his idea was what? Nation-centric. His idea of education was what? Internationalism-centric. Right, the third point? It was nation-centric. India, nation-centric. His idea here was internationalism-centric. That is the differences, small differences only, small hairline differences only we have. Yeah. So Gandhi focused on moral development. Don't you think again GS paper 4 comes? Gandhi focuses more on what? Moral development of an individual. Moral development of an individual. Getting it? An individual should develop himself morally. So what is moral principle? Moral is individual. But what is Tagore said? Tagore principles was more ethical. What is ethics? We all. It applies to all. What is moral? It is individualistic. Don't you think it looks more slightly together? So that is why again Plato plays a role here. Plato's element only comes here for whom? Gandhi and Tagore. See, when Tagore established the Shanti Niketan, so you can give example here. Tagore created the Shanti Niketan and he constructed the Vishwa Bharati University. So when you look at these two schools, Shanti Niketan and Vishwa Bharati, it was moving towards what? It was having a Western approach with Indian value. But here, the Gurukula pattern, typical that Indian learning with activity, that was actually given. That's what Gandhi was more towards moral value. Tagore was more towards ethical value. Getting it? So these are the basic differences. It will look alike. These are small hairline differences what we have. Because these are philosophy oriented. Did Gandhi and Tagore clash with each other? No. They never clashed with each other. Did Gandhi and Tagore debate with each other? No, they never debate with each other. Did Gandhi and Tagore meet each other? Yes. They met each other. They had an intellectual discussion. Gandhi accepted Tagore's, differences. Tagore accepted Gandhi's differences. But there was no chaos there in that point of time, particularly on the goal of what? Education. See, Gandhi wanted to create a class of good citizens. Tagore wanted to create a class of saint. Getting it? Spiritual class. So write the next point. He wanted to create a group of good citizens. Just write it 1 second. Who's that? He wanted to create a group of good citizens. Tagore wanted to create a group of saints. That is spiritual kind of leader. Because spiritual element will take the country to a next level. Was whose belief? Was a belief of Tagore. So on those ideas, with a matter of respect, they keep it with them only. So overall, when you look at it, both were promoting Western, Indian language. Vernacular language was there with both. That is the similarities we take. But the question talks about only what? Differences. So these are the major differences on education with Tagore and Gandhi. Yeah? Yeah, Tagore? No. Moral development is be good, do good. As a person, you inculcate some personal value. Moral is personal. Ethics is general. Self-realization of one's own self in education. You realize it's like kind of nirvana, moksha. It's that one, enlightenment. Gandhi is never talking about enlightenment. Gandhi says education should give you a job. You study, you get a job. Because what do our parents tell us? Study well, get a job. That is what Gandhi said at that point of time. Your education should make you self-reliant. Atma Shakti. That's why Gandhi was giving that spinning wheel. Getting it, the charka. Gandhi always spoke about the charka. Why? Your education should enlighten you. That was Gandhi's view. But here it was what? Education should awaken you. You get a job or not, that's secondary. But your field should be awakened. That was here. So which will give you food? Are you getting Atma Shakti, self-reliance? Here he was more talking about what? A saintly, a philosophical, a spiritual approach was actually given. But where did the population go and join? The population went and joined where? Gandhi. The intake was more here. The intake was kind of less here. This is the basic differences what we take. See, if it's for a 10 mark, you can write 3 points here. You can write 3 points for the next pattern called nationalism. You need not write 10 points here because it's only 1.5 page. So the next one we move on is with nationalism. Yeah. No, we don't exactly take one because revivalist and reformist are two detailed concepts. When you look at them, both will fall in both. Because it's a small hairline difference only. UPSC wants you to take that small hairline difference. Outwardly, it will look same. But when you go to the core concept, it will look what? Difference. So that point we don't generally write. Yeah.
Hello, excuse me, ma'am.
No, here ethics, what they meant was, it's for the society. Are you getting it? Be common-centric. That is what Tagore's philosophy said. We'll do it later. Yeah, clear? Shall we go to the next part?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
One question. If we talk about the, you talk about the Gandhi and Tagore about the industrialization. They don't believe in industrialization and Gandhi. Industrialization, you know.
No, here it is education only, right? Why do we touch that? We are not talking all the differences. Look at the question. Education, nationalism. Why do you want to talk about that?
Job-oriented education.
Education should be job-oriented. That is what he said. Education should promote what? Employment.
Okay.
That was Gandhi's view.
Tagore also wanted.
Tagore was self-realization. It's not like you study something, you take a job accordingly. It's not Tagore's view.
Okay, thank you.
You take a job which you like, Tagore. Gandhi says you do a job which you've studied. Because education is employment.
Tagore was against the charkhas.
Not against and all. No one. That's what I'm telling you. Don't say against. When you say against, views will differ. There's a small hairline difference only. It will look same. But when you split it up and study, the differences are very clear.
Thank you, ma'am.
Clear? Yeah. Yeah. Influence was there, but Plato was more into that creative idea, right? Plato's thinking was what? Gandhi said, learn with activity. But Plato said, make a child to think with activity, create. Let the child be creativity. Don't go on with the same Gurukula pattern. Let the child create. Let the child be innovative. And who gave that idea? Plato. So here we are linking it like Plato's idea. But Gandhi was very much into that, no, learn with activity only. So that's a small difference what we take. When I say Plato, I go with the creativity element only. So shall we go to the next part? Yeah, how was nationalism for Gandhi? How was nationalism for Tagore? So according to Gandhi, was Gandhi a nationalist? So Gandhi said, as citizens, every citizen should be loving the mother country. So love for one's own nation is called as what? Nationalism. That is the highest form of patriotism. Is called as what? Nationalism. So that's the first one. You can write. Love owns nation. Bharat Mata, love for one's own country. Love for one's own country, that is Gandhi's nationalism. But again for Tagore, love for the nation. But for Tagore, it was just a myth. Nationalism is just a myth. So it is called as what? A Maya. There's no concept of nationalism. According to Tagore, nationalism is a mirage. It's an illusion. It ties people together with a boundary. It ties people, it restricts people. When I say nationalism, Indian nationalism, what do we talk? Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Example? So what does Tagore says? You can't tie nationalism, it's a myth. Nationalism doesn't have any boundary. Tagore goes to a more philosophical view, telling that it's a myth. But though Tagore wrote a book called Nationalism. In that nationalism, Tagore writes different points of nationalism. Forced nationalism, sacred nationalism. So Tagore gives types of nationalism. Why does he say that? It will look like a philosophy class. But what did Tagore say? There's no concept called nationalism. It should be like what? Love all. So Tagore's nationalism was more towards what? Internationalism. It's no boundary, no border, nothing. So Gandhi was like, regionalism gives birth to nationalism. But what does Tagore say? It is only internationalism. We all are bound together as what? As humans only. That's the first thing what Gandhi and Nehru slightly argued. The second thing, what do we see about Gandhi's nationalism is, again, in nationalism, they're talking about the nation. And the nation has got a set of values. Nation has got a set of values. Values of what? Humanism. Values of what? Justice. Values of what? Equality. So you can write, nation has got a set of values called humanism, justice, equality, etc. But for Tagore again, nation has got or individual has got? Individual has got all these set of values. Nation is not there according to Tagore. Are you getting? So it is more individual centric. For whom? For Tagore. So he doesn't talk about that very much into clear idea. Getting it? Because he says that. And again, what does Gandhi say? A nation should be full of peace. A nation should go on with what? Non-violence. A nation should be what? Self-reliant. So nation, that nationalism promotes what? Nationalism promotes peace. Nationalism should promote non-violence. Nationalism should promote what? Self-reliance. But again, coming on to Tagore, what is Tagore saying? He totally ignored all of them. He says that the concept of nationalism will make countries fight. Countries will become enemies if you put the term what? Nationalism. So Tagore was totally against this concept of nation. So what does he say? Individual peace. Individual non-violence. It should be individual self-reliance. You be everything by yourself. That is what I told you. The true freedom is what? It's with one's own self. That's what he put it in the link of what? Nationalism. When you read it outwardly, it will look together. But when you read it together inside, they're splitting it up and taking it as a small principle. So these are the basic differences between what? Gandhi's education and nationalism. See, Tagore, after the World War I, he shifted the concept of nationalism. Before that, Tagore was a nationalist. Please do understand. Before the World War I, Tagore was a nationalist. His philosophies changed after the First World War. And these are the points what we take it after the First World War only. So these are the differences you take. So how do you conclude? Thus, though the freedom fight, though both the leaders lived together in common, shared everything in common, but in the concept of nationalism and education, they differed profoundly. So you have to bring the question and then conclude. It's like thus. So just give a conclusion. So your answer would be fine. Either you can make it as, see, whatever comes here, you need not make it as an opposite one. You take the differences and hit there only. That would be your answer. So clear with the second one? It's kind of factual, but for this you need to study Gandhi and Tagore in detail, else this would be a little bit difficult. Yeah, the next question. 2 minutes. Yeah, the next question, I think that's an easy question. Just read the question, ma. Bring out the socio-economic effects of the introduction of railways. In different countries of the world. So this is again 10 mark. Yeah, it's a 10 mark, right? Yeah, it's again 150 word, 10 mark. See, again, this question is a world history question. The topic which falls here is industrial revolution. So the first chapter of world history, industrial revolution, is this question. So again, what are we going to write? It talks about what? Bring out. So you have to tell them, you have to bring out, again, discuss or elaborate about the society, social and economic effect. So effects can be positive, effects can be negative. So you have to write both positive and negative effect of what? Railways of different country. So first thing, what you're going to give an example, the introduction should be on railways. So getting it? So who was the father of railways? George Stephenson. So take down George Stephenson, the father of railways. Give an introduction. We done it. George Stephenson, the father of railways. Yeah, father of railways. Initiated it and transformed. Initiated. Father of railways initiated and transformed. Transformed the entire human society. Transformed the entire human society for its betterment. A small introduction on railway. Getting it? Railways are considered to be a great invention of mankind. Some small introduction. Railways are considered to be a great invention of mankind. Let's give a small introduction. So which was the first country which had railways? Britain. Great Britain. So that's a factual part. So where was the first railway line running out? In 1825, the first railway line ran from Liverpool to Manchester. Good. So these are all your facts. We would have done it in our classes. So give George Stephenson underline. Write it as lifeline of human, because our Indian railway motto is what? Lifeline. Underline that, great invention. Then write the first railway line ran from where? Liverpool to Manchester in Britain. So this is your introduction. Now, what is the question asking? All countries later started adopting industrial revolution. When industrial revolution entered all the countries across the globe, what was the social impact and what was the economic impact of railway? Again, to write this answer, the body, you can make a table. Getting it? You can make a table. So I teach it generally with a table. So make a small side heading. Social effect. Social effect of railways. Let's go on with the first positivity. Then we'll go on with the negative effect. So the first social effect. So what is the first social effect, ma? It connected people across the globe. Don't you think trains connected? So it connected people across the globe. Getting it? Or you can write the disconnected world became connected with what? Railways. So you can give an example. Getting it? Let's take an example. The same example of Liverpool to Manchester. Getting it? So you can give that Liverpool to Manchester example that it connected. If you're forgetting the year, it's okay. Because the question is kind of general. Give some years here and there. Or you can even start your answer like the Industrial Revolution gave birth to railways. So give a bracket of what? Industrial Revolution again. So getting it? The second social impact. It removed all social barriers. Don't you think people travel together in trains? There are many compartments, people did travel together. So all social barriers were removed. So people had their journey together. That's a positive impact. Don't you think so? Yeah? Getting it, ma? So that's again, when you put the negative impact, what do we again put it here? What is the negative impact? You get it here? Any idea? Yeah? Yeah, exploitation of resources. That's an environmental one. So you can write exploitation of resources. But don't you think any development leads to destruction. If there is a development, it would 100% lead to what? Destruction. Small amount of destruction is required. So again, it was like exploitation of resources. Then again, the positive one, the social effect, connected people, united people. Again, then how did society get transformed? People started to travel together. Travel and journey became what? Easy. It became cheaper and it became comfortable. So people started crossing continents. Getting it, ma? They started crossing continents. The Trans-Siberian Railway, you can give that example. So when you give that example, it started connecting people across. It looks very general. The points are very general, but when you would have done Industrial Revolution together in all phases, you can easily take it, right? Three points only, because it's only 10 mark. And they're asking you social impact and economic impact. 3 points here, 3 points there, your answer is complete. Need not think about writing 10, 15 points. Make it small, make it simpler. What is again the negative impact? Even though people were traveling together, later some compartments were created so that it also made people not to travel. Gandhi was thrown out from a train, don't you think so? Though Gandhi had what? A first class ticket. Gandhi was still thrown out from a train. Why? Because Gandhi was considered to be a black. Are you getting it? So which means what? You can see it's railways across the world. You can even add Indian example also. So the division of compartments. Don't you think this point comes here also? It comes here also. The division of compartments, again what? Divided people. So it divided them socially also. It divided them economically also. So this is the social impact. What we see, positive and negative about railways. Then what do we take about economic one? So clear with social impact? General points only. Give an example. Trans-Siberian Railway of Russia. You can give an example of that because it connected people across all races, all ethnicity, all group of the Russian population. The entire population got connected with what route? This one route. So this is a very big social impact. Getting it? Don't you think in India also we call Dalhousie as the father of Indian railways? The moment railways started picking up, don't you think all Congress meetings held casually because of railways in India only? Don't you think the revolt of 1857 was suppressed by the Britishers because of what? The railways. So you can make a point positive and negative according to your process. But don't take a holistic negative point and make it as a positive one. Make sure how do you make it? Because the revolt of 1857, that point for Indian history, it's negative for us. But for them, it's positive. For Britishers, that's a positive point. But for us, it's a negative point. So see it accordingly and take countries there. You can quote China. You can quote Japan. You can quote what? The South African train route. That also, because people were carried. So that will come under what? The economic impact. So moving on to the economic impact. What is the economic impact or effect? Positive one. So don't you think it created employment opportunity? Employment opportunities were created, were generated. Because to make railway lines, you need people to work. To make the coaches, you need people. You need station masters. You need people to collect ticket. You need someone to check your ticket. You need someone to make the train move. So all those jobs, it generated what? Employment opportunity. Again, the opposite point, what we take it for negative. Again, exploitation of resources. The same point would come. When you start thinking, you will start getting the point. Yeah. Yeah, we repeat it. See, don't you think socio-economic pattern is almost the same? Because social division at times will hit economy. When I don't have money, I'll not be able to travel in a first class. But that comes as economy. But by my social status also, at times I'll be denied. So don't you think there's a small difference there? So we point it out there. Yeah. Here? You're talking about here. 2 points are there. Yeah, you can write. You can just write. It made heavy. So people who do not have money, they couldn't travel. We are putting it under economy. It's not a hard and fast rule that you take it. Minor differences and similarity, go with the point. No, I've given you only two. Only two. You can take it. Here, we are not matching it out. We are just taking some points here. Overall, we are writing 5 points here, 5 points there to make it for 10. So again, exploitation of resources. Again, what happens here? What is the economic benefit? Yeah, trade, develop. There was a very good increase in trade. Getting it, people started connecting with all countries, and you can say trade flourished. Again, which example can you give? Trans-Siberian trade route, Indian railways in Japan, the Tokyo railway line. You can give all these examples to substantiate that what? Trade flourished here, and it connected what? It connected continents. See, almost every country in the world entered a phase of what? Industrial revolution. But this actually, the trade was a basic boost for trains to appear where? In world history. Again, what is the third economic impact? Opportunities were given, generations were there, people started to travel, flourished, and don't you think, again, industries, trade, factories, all were there. Now railway lines were established near the coal fields, near the mines, near the factories. So once goods are all packed, the trains can carry them across, passenger goods, getting it, goods carrier train, passenger train, all these started coming. So many cities were created on the banks, on the railway track only. Chicago is one best example where Chicago was noticed only for what? Its rail route only. So people started settling near what? Cities which had a train connectivity only. So it almost what? Another one, it almost economically united people. It united them. You can say urbanization. The great urbanization took place with what? Took place with railways. You can example had Chicago. Chicago is the best example of America where a great employment opportunity and a flourishing element took place with what? Railways only. Again here, what do we write? What is the negative one? A drain, exploitation of resources. You can even add drain of wealth. All raw materials from the colonies were taken from where? Were taken from the railways only. So railways positive, railways negative also. Again, yeah. So almost when you look at all the trains, now today we have all the countries in the world are connected to what? The rural element. But in those days, rural people have to come to a city, and from a city they take a train. So there was a shift that train means city. Are you getting it? Public transport. Train means it was a city. So this development came only later. LPG, 1991. Later this divide was actually merged. Initially there was a gap. There was a gap between the urban and rural division. There was a gap between urban and rural areas. And don't you think to make railway tracks, people need to clear the forest? People need to actually take some group of people away. So all these fostered what? The development of railways faster. In a way, it slowed the economic process. So how do you conclude? Thus, trains or railways in a way boosted economic opportunity, made people to come together, because here they're not asking you anything negative. They're just asking you bring out the social, which means you have to generalize things. So you can just conclude with thus. Though railway lines were there throughout the world, some countries, trains and railways are the lifeline. You can take our Indian railways. Are you getting it? Where is the biggest public employment seen? Indian railways only. And we have some longest trains also. If there is an update, you can add that. If there is a current affairs note, you can add that also. That can also bring some benefits. So that will be there. So I stop here with that. And there are some 2 more questions pending. I have to discuss about the next question about the Vedic society, the technological advancement of Delhi Sultanate. So 2 questions are pending. So with running short of time, we have the next question, Vedic society, Delhi Sultanate, colonial, policies of tribal. So 3 questions are pending. So what I'll do, I will give you the question with the model answer. Getting it? So we will distribute it to you. I think you can keep that we'll distribute it to you. Keep that in hand, and that will be your pattern. So I've discussed 3. Keep this in mind. Keep the remaining 3 in your hand. So thank you so much. Yeah.